I want to share a couple really cool stories with you, some testimonials from our work with specific sound frequencies with clients. I had this wonderful gentleman come to Key West for a retreat, and I had worked with him via phone prior to his arrival, so I understood his energy blueprint. I understood kind of the challenges in his life and the amazing gifts that he had. And we did what I call tone trials. So I set up his birth tones and I do a voice analysis. And with the person with me in the studio, we taste test basically the tones to see which ones are going to be the most powerful and healing for his body. And as we went through these, he was liking them and enjoying them and kind of moving towards them. And this particular client, I knew that one of his biggest factors in his life was the fact that his father left him when he was one. It was so incredible to watch the miracle that happened when I played for him the tone or the frequency, the birth note of his father. And as we got further and further into the tones, and this gentleman is very highly sensitive and such a beautiful soul, I just knew that these tones are going to be really transformational for him. And he kept moving his body closer and closer to the big subwoofer. And I didn't tell him what the tones were because I want the nervous system to answer. And so we tried different ones, and he liked this one, we liked that one better, and that one's okay, and that one's amazing. And I played the one for his father without telling him what it was. And he literally went and just hugged the subwoofer, and he said, Shanda, right here, right now, in this moment, this is the first time ever in my life that I didn't care about what someone else was doing or thinking. I feel complete and utter peace right now. And my heart just exploded because I knew that was it. And I said, well, this is the frequency, the birth tone of your father, and that is what your nervous system has been looking for 40 years. And it's finally satisfied. It's just amazing. It's just wonderful the miracles that these tones can do for people by filling in the gaps in their nervous system. They work wonderfully well, obviously, in that case of abandonment, but they also work in the case of grief. So if someone has lost a partner or a child or a parent or a coworker, we can feed the birth tone of the person who has transitioned to non-physical. We can feed that frequency to the person who is bereaved, and it doesn't obviously bring the person back, but it satisfies something in the nervous system that frequency the person was used to getting is often just like having a nutrient. It's like that's why it's so difficult, that transition into non-physical, because there is an actual physical frequency that a person's nervous system is accustomed to getting. And when that just suddenly goes away, it leaves the nervous system in a state of shock. And so it would be like being without your supply of oxygen or B12 or protein. And we're able to give that frequency back, and the healing just really, really happens so much faster. Another cool story, a friend of mine was in a jet ski accident. He's okay, but he fell off the jet ski and cranked his neck over hard and so forth. And he went to a chiropractor several times to get things, rib put back in place and neck realigned and so forth. But he still had a ton of pain, muscular pain, and so forth. And I only had a couple minutes to work with him. It wasn't an actual session. I just wanted to help him, and so we were just standing in a garage basically. And I pulled up some tone. I said, "Show me where it hurts." And he said, "Okay, it's here and it's here and whatever." And I said, "Okay." So I just pulled him up on my phone and I put my headset in his ears and I played a couple frequencies for him. And prior to the work, he had basically very limited, almost no range of motion in his neck. He couldn't turn it much more than this. And when I gave him the correct muscle that was the one involved that was so tight, within less than 2 minutes, and he's just standing there with this huge grin, like, what the heck is happening? This is crazy. And he could turn his neck. He had his at least an 80% increase in range of motion within 2 minutes of the correct frequency. Another not so fun story, but a miracle. I had shingles, and if anybody's had shingles, you know it sucks and it's so painful. And one night I was awakened by a stabbing pain in the back of my leg, where it's kind of like that was the place where this whole shingles party started. And I mean, it's like being burned from the inside out, second degree burn. And I got through the entire shingle process without taking any kind of pain medication, because what I would do is get in the bathtub and I would hum. So your body has its innate ability to know the tone or the frequency that you need. So if you're ever in pain, all you have to do, well, not all you have to do, but a powerful thing you can do is to simply hum, just and we do that when we're in pain anyway. We make noises. And as we're making those noises, we're creating frequencies that balance us. So what I would do is I would just hum, and I would check through an app on my phone what note that was. And then I would go through my list of remedies and find a remedy that might be, applicable to what I was experiencing. And when I got the right remedy, I could lie there in the bathtub and all the pain would be canceled out. So it's a matter of canceling the pain sensation from the brain through frequency. It's like magic, but it really is just physics. It's just math. And I really don't know how I would have gotten through shingles without having my frequencies. Another really cool, fun story. I have a client whose second toe, for about last 15 years or so, her second toe goes sideways. I mean, like completely sideways. It doesn't really have a lot of pain associated with it, except that it makes walking awkward and wearing shoes awkward and so forth. And so she said, well, what can we do about this toe? And so I said, well, let's find the muscles that are, governing the toe. I know that it was the underlying factor has to do with she's a worrier. And the second toe, or, the toe that's not the big toe, the first one, is associated with the stomach meridian. And stomach in traditional Chinese medicine governs worry. And so I knew that if we could strengthen the toe, it would also strengthen the meridian, which would then allow her to experience less worry and anxiety. So I did this work for her over the phone. I played for her the frequency of one of the muscles of the second toe. Now, for 15 years, she had not been able to voluntarily move that toe at all. And within about 60 seconds of listening to the tone, she could move it herself. It's just so cool. Again, it just kind of freaked her out, like, oh my God, that's so cool. So as she has listened to this on a regular basis, I think we did the tones for her through her phone, and then we also did in a tone box for her so that she could get this conditioning over time. She now has much better posture, much less worry and anxiety, a better ability to speak her mind and speak her truth and be heard. And her toes are not completely straight yet, but we've only been working with this for kind of on and off for a couple months. So I'm very, very pleased with her progress. And thinking of the alternatives of being something like surgery, which she just would never do. She would never do surgery on her feet. This is an amazing solution that causes no pain and allows her to simply regain muscular response through her brain remembering how to make those frequencies. It's so cool. And what's really fun to understand is our brains have within them everything that we need to heal ourselves. I worked with another client recently who had just this mysterious pain in his body that would sometimes be in his hips, sometimes in his knee, mainly on the right side, but sometimes on the left side. And he'd been dealing with this for about a year or two on and off, and it would come and go. He went to multiple chiropractors, had many physical massage sessions, did some structural integration work, acupuncture, and this pain just would keep kind of like moving all around. And finally I said, let's do some frequencies for it. So had him on the table, and I simply played a set of tones to release the tension in these muscles, because chiropractic doesn't really loosen the muscles and acupuncture doesn't really loosen the muscles, and massage loosens the muscles, but really kind of temporarily. Once the person goes back into the same thought process and the same stress that creates that tension in the muscle, the benefits of the massage wane. The specific sound frequencies work beautifully in conjunction with chiropractic and massage and structural integration and acupuncture. They speak the language of the nervous system to allow the body to remember how to loosen and balance that muscle again straight through the frequency. After about an hour of this client just lying on the table and receiving these frequencies, he was able to stand up and walk straight and without the hunched over pain. And the beautiful thing about it is, if you listen to these frequencies over time, you are training your body back into making the frequencies that your muscles needed. So it has beautiful long-term effects.